All right, let's talk about something that is probably every cloud architect's worst nightmare. We're going to dive into how one tiny little mistake can lead to an absolutely catastrophic cloud bill. But, and this is the important part, we're also going to talk about how to architect the right guardrails to make sure this never, ever happens to you. I mean, really, think about that. How fast can a great day in the cloud just completely fall apart? You can spin up massive resources in, what, seconds? That means the line between a successful deployment and a total financial disaster is, well, it's razor thin. Let's walk through a little story to see just how thin it is.
Okay, so picture this. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. Your team just pushed out a brand new feature. You're looking at the dashboards. Everything's green, all systems go. It feels like it's going to be a fantastic day, right?
But just 5 minutes later, something's starting to go wrong. Buried deep inside the configuration, there's this tiny, tiny error, something that looks completely harmless. Maybe it's a recursive loop or a workload that's set to scale itself forever. It's exactly the kind of thing that's super easy to miss in a code review. Nobody's fault, it just happens. And that one little mistake? Yeah, that is now burning through $10,000 an hour. Think about that. By the time you've walked over and made yourself a coffee, you're already down 20 grand. By lunchtime, you're looking at a six-figure problem. This isn't science fiction. This is the reality of a runaway cloud bill. Okay, so that's the scary part. Let's talk about how to fix it. Because that whole nightmare scenario, it is 100% preventable. And the solution isn't to slow down or get all paranoid about every line of code. Nope. It's about building smarter. It's about architecting these financial guardrails right into the heart of your cloud environment from day one. The central problem here is kind of a paradox when you think about it. The best thing about the cloud, how incredibly easy and fast it is also what makes it so financially dangerous. I mean, you can provision a whole fleet of servers with a single command, right? But that also means you can rack up an insane bill with that exact same speed if you're not paying close attention. So when I say financial guardrails, what am I actually talking about? Well, the best way to think about them is like the circuit breakers in your house. If you plug in too many things and overload a circuit, you don't burn the house down. A little switch just flips and the power cuts off. That's a guardrail. It's a pre-planned, totally automated control designed to trip before a real disaster can happen. And this is key. They are not an afterthought. They have to be a fundamental piece of your cloud architecture. Now, the crucial thing to get is that this isn't about buying some single magic tool that solves everything. It's really a three-part system, a blueprint for safety. And those three parts are budgets, alerts, and automation. So here's our game plan. Super simple. First, we've got to define what normal even looks like. That's what budgets are for. Second, we need a system that screams at us when things are not normal. Those are our alerts. And third, and this is the most important part, we build automated actions that stop the problem cold, right in its tracks. Okay, let's start with step one. And we really need to change how we think about budgets here. A budget in the cloud is not just some number on a spreadsheet for the finance team to look at once a month. No way. It's an engineering tool. It's a living, breathing, technical boundary that defines what a service or a project or even a tiny feature should cost to operate. That, of course, leads us right into step two, alerts. If budgets are the rules, then alerts are the nervous system of your guardrails. They're the pain signal that tells you something is seriously wrong. And a good alert isn't just a vague, hey, you're spending money. It gives you context. It needs to tell you exactly which project is going off the rails and what the projected cost is going to be, like that insane $12,000 figure. And that brings us to the absolute game changer. Step 3, automation. Look, getting an alert is great. It's a good first step. But you just cannot rely on a human to see an email or a Slack message and react in time. We're talking about thousands of dollars a minute here. So that alert can't just be a notification. It has to be a trigger. It has to kick off an immediate automated action. We're talking about things like instantly shutting down that specific rogue workload, or maybe capping its ability to scale, or even revoking its permissions so it physically can't provision anything else. Okay, so we've got our three pieces: budgets, alerts, and automations. Let's see what happens when we put them all together. We're going to rewind the clock and play out that same nightmare scenario from the beginning, but this time with our guardrails installed. Let's see how different the story is now. All right, 9:05 a.m., the bad config goes live and the meter starts running. But check this out. Just 1 minute later, at 9:06, the system sees the cost spike past its budget. The alert isn't just sent, it's triggered. And by 9:07 a.m., literally before anyone has had a chance to even read the Slack message, the automated safeguard has already kicked in and shut down the rogue process. Done. The entire crisis, from start to finish, is over and done with in 2 minutes. And this right here, this chart shows you everything you need to know. The first bar, that's what you expected to spend, $500. That huge bar in the middle, that's the nightmare scenario without guardrails, a projected cost of almost $250,000 in 1 day. And then look at that little bar on the right. With guardrails, the actual cost was just $514. The damage was contained to a tiny $14 overage. That is the power of designing for safety from the start. So, let's wrap this up. What are the big things to take away? First, and most importantly, cloud cost control is an architectural problem, not just a finance problem. Second, your budgets. They define the boundaries of what's acceptable. They're your rules of the road. Third, alerts give you that critical real-time visibility. They're your early warning system. And finally, automation. It is the only, and I mean only, reliable way to act at machine speed. Because we humans, we're just too slow. So I'll leave you with this one last question to think about, and maybe to take back to your own team. When it comes to your cloud bill, are you operating on hope or are you operating on architecture?